Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to have you here again. It's a spooky spiritual rock star show. We're so glad to have you here. I'm here with an amazing guest today to talk about Dracula and desire and how this all has to do with psychic mediumship and being a spiritual rock star and more. And so I'm very grateful to have Andrea St. Amand with us, and we're going to be diving in just 1 second. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate Make Money meditation today. Okay, so let me tell you about Andrea. So, first of all, hello, Andrea.
Hello. I don't think I've ever heard such an exciting, inspirational intro. That was awesome.
All right. Okay, and the fun continues. We're only going to go deeper. All right, so Andrea St. Amand is an evidential psychic medium. She specializes in healing readings that unite you with your loved ones who have passed away, including pets, or uncover your core energetic gifts to realign you with your truest nature and your soul's desired expression. She has been a professional ballerina and a partner in a national law firm and is passionate about connecting people to their imagination, their emotional intelligence, and most importantly, their very own sacred souls. So I'm grateful to have you here, Andrea. I was connected with Andrea through, I think, another guest of mine or something, and I just remember, I went to her Facebook page. I started seeing skulls and I don't know if it was vampires or what I saw. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I should contact this person. and then I did anyway. And then once I talked to her and I said, hey, what's the deal with this Dracula? And you're all into that and everything. And then she started telling me about it, and it all made sense. Then I totally understood it. It's so funny how, just our surface minds has a judgment about something. First, oh my God, that's dark. She's in the dark side, or whatever. And then you learn more about what it's about, and it's totally can change your perspective. And I think that's one of the big things here at Spiritual Rockstar. I talk about all the time. Is we have to get beyond the surface mind and see more deeply what life's really trying to tell us. And so looking forward to playing with you today, Andrea, to talk about this exciting subject.
Well, I'm glad you gave me a chance.
Yeah. So
not being scared off by the gothic.
Yeah. And see, that's so funny. Even people hear that goth or whatever, like, oh, they've got a whole file put away on that. and probably 90% of it is all nonsense, if not 100% usually, for most people. So let's get into it. Tell us about your goth nature, your goth self, and how you got into goblins and, Dracula, skulls and all kinds of fun stuff, including your psychic mediumship. So let's talk about all that fun stuff.
I've always been aware of the spirit world since I was a kid, and that never really went away. But I've always, and maybe because of that connection, I've always been drawn to ghost stories. When I was little, I just could not read enough ghost stories, and that then went into stories of witches, but witches, kids witches, where it's the good witch and the just the cartoonish sort of nature of it. But I was just enthralled by these sort of monsters and otherworldly beings. And I never lost that fascination. And I think the best I can psychoanalyze myself with that anyway, is that it really gets you into your imagination. All those stories about things that you're not seeing every day really puts you into an imaginative place where everything is possible. And I grew up in a very, very rural area, in West Virginia, and there was a lot of poverty around me. So maybe that was also inspiring me to dream of something bigger than what I was seeing in my physical reality. But yeah, that's that love of those wildly imaginative stories never left. And then I was naturally drawn to the theater, probably that same creative reason. Was a dancer, and then went to college a little bit later. I didn't go right out of high school because I was dancing, but I just fell into being a Gothic literature major. And eventually became a psychic medium. But should we talk about Dracula here or later?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
Just want
All
to give
right.
people a little bit of a background now. One of the always the fascinating thing for people that do the sorts of things you do, and would be even in the sorts of things you are, just from people's minds perspective, is that your background is in law, right? So tell us a little bit about like your fascination with law and how that may connect to a little bit, right? Because it totally connects to what you do now. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a really interesting detour. It feels more like becoming a lawyer seems the weirdest thing, definitely the weirdest thing in my life. I come from my dad was a lawyer, and my dad's a born lawyer. He's actually a brilliant trial lawyer, and I am not that. Let's get that out of the way. But I could just see what my dad had done with his career, and graduating with a degree in literature. What are you going to do with that? I didn't want to teach. I wasn't writing or anything. So I knew from ballet that I was tired of starving. Both because I had to fit in costumes that were too small, and also I was just tired of being poor. And I knew if I went to law school, that would just continue opening doors for me, and I would always have a job. I wouldn't have to worry about it. But I also just saw from my dad's perspective that there was a lot of creativity in the law. And as it turned out, I ended up with a really great law school experience, a great law firm, great teammates, and some fascinating cases. So I stayed for 10 years. And what I ended up, my role in being a lawyer was to tell the stories, like to make whatever the case was about, bring it down to a human level that a jury could care about, or a jury could understand. So even if it's accounting fraud, how do you make somebody care about a spreadsheet? So I loved just humanizing what all of our clients were going through. But it also trained my brain. Like now, looking back on those 10 years, I know it helped me learn how to tell stories and communicate with people. But two, it really, really sharpened my brain and gave me this very analytical, skeptical. I'm the most skeptical person you're ever going to meet, probably, but very analytical, evidence-based brain. Like, how do you get from point A to B to C to D and make it all fit together in a story or whatever it is that you're doing? That has helped tremendously when I finally gave in and into psychic mediumship. And I thought the whole time that I was a lawyer, I was still very spiritual. And it's funny because even my former law partners now, they always remember conversations that we would have. We would get into spiritual conversations. So to them, this is not that far of a leap. But I never thought, and I think most people make this mistake, I never thought that I could be a medium. I didn't think I was good enough. And people don't understand that, well, you go to school and you get skills just like any other calling. If you're called to sing, you go get a voice coach, right? Or anything like that. It's a skill set that once you're called to develop it, you can develop. And my anxiety as a lawyer was getting completely out of control. And I couldn't really understand why, because I had a great job. I was surrounded by great teammates. I was surrounded by fascinating cases. I had a good house. I had the good blah, 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 checking all the boxes, and I was miserable. So I finally realized, like, I need to step off this ledge and figure myself out. And so I did, with the support of my husband. I stepped off and had no plan B. I just took time off And very quickly, teachers appeared. My psychic teacher appeared, and then my mediumship teacher appeared, and they were very grounded women, very grounded people. And then mentors started appearing, and they just really connected with me, and they were all evidence-based. It was all about how do you bring spirituality right down to earth, right down into like real world human context. And in order to do that, in my opinion, the way I work, you got to go to the dark side. You got to go to the dark side of the human experience, because people have suffered real life traumas and real life issues in this journey of being human. It's not all just airy fairy puppies and rainbows, as you know, right? You've got to go beneath the surface where you can really connect with another human being and heal them, or help, not heal them, but help them be validated in their own dark experiences, and in order to bring light to that experience and to their humanness.
Let's say, just for fun, that I say, I object. I object. All right. I got to use that one.
What grounds? On what grounds?
On the grounds that it's only all love and light. So why do we need the dark side after all? So that's what the grounds are. So for people that are like, yeah, I don't know about all that dark side stuff. I understand things come up for people, but we just all come back into love and light. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine in that love and light. So, I mean, you know, there's an argument to be made there. So state your case, Andrea. So why do we need to go to the dark side? To make it clearer for us, because I mean, we find ourselves there, but people say, no, we can come back in the light. We just want to be egoless and one with all and no dark side. So how do you handle that with, what is your answer to that for people that are in that realm where they want to be out of the dark side?
I understand it. I mean, spiritual bypassing is certainly attractive. If we could just, right? If we could just like be like, oh, I'm like, let me just tap into my higher self and live up there for a while. Then I don't have to deal with all of the pain and suffering on earth, or the pain and suffering in my own body. And I think we're not here to practice spiritual escapism. We're here to be human. We're here to be very human. And being human is messy. It's blood, sweat, guts, and tears. I mean, not all of it. It's not all like Debbie Downer stuff. But in order to like really fully understand our experiences, in order to really, really open up our capacity for profound love, I think we have to embrace all that life offers, and particularly all of our own experiences. And that is, I think, the hardest thing that humans have to do, is sort of turn our vision inward and go to those things that make you uncomfortable, or maybe decisions that you've made in the past that you still carry shame over, or you're judging yourself for too harshly, or maybe you were victimized in the past and you're still carrying like a lot of self-blame, like those kind of things. But if we don't, we can go there very safely and with somebody and help heal that. So then your capacity for love and feeling joy and happiness can increase and become profound.
Yeah.
But I think that I think you can only go as high as you can go low. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In an authentic manner, in a truly authentic manner.
But the light is always beaming and shining in I'm one with the one, and the highest vibe ever. I could just go there now. Because people have that experience, right? So they get a high vibrational nature, right? And then all of a sudden the physical reality, their emotions, their mental plane, whatever you want to call, all these different aspects, comes crashing down. They're like, what happened? I was feeling so good. And oh my God, I got a life to deal with. What's going on? Oh, back into the oneness, back into the higher vibration. And also, I'm still here. What happened? Like, that's what I find happens for a lot of seekers anyway.
It's so true. And that's the human beauty. That's the human process.
Yes,
right?
I feel that we can go really high even without going low, but does it really integrate into your body, into your physical, the physical plane of your body? I want to say energetics of your body and your being, and it doesn't really land there, so that it's not you're constantly chasing a high of trying to go higher vibration all the time, but that it's really just coming. I talk about coming back home, right? You're coming back home in a way you experience your full wholeness and your divinity and your humanity. And I think that's where I agree with you. Like, yeah, you need to go to all the different spaces, because that's part of the experience being here in this plane as a human being, right?
That was beautifully said. Just that idea of really integrating into your body, embodying this divinity and embodying this thing we call a soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our bodies are slow, it's like 3D. It's like we're grounded.
Right. Right. Now, as we're going around, like for some people, like some of the people might listen in to this broadcast, they're in business or they want to be in business, and um, they've got the vampires. Sometimes vampires think first thing they think energy vampires, right? Oh my God, they're out to just take my energy and all this stuff, right? And we think about Dracula, it's like everybody, since kids, right? We all laugh about the want to suck your blood, all stuff on Halloween and whatnot, and then it's like I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you, and this idea, and then people have that with different things in their life. We're going to get you with, you're worried about your money. We're going to get you with your money. We're going to get you with your health. We're going to get you with relationships. Like, and people talk, I think they call it evil. They call it the dark sides out to take you out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So tell us about, specifically too, especially I want to get into the vampire and especially Dracula, but how do these caricatures really of like they're out to get us, kind of thing. How does, from your perspective, how does that serve us? How does it actually serve us? And tell us more about it.
I think, well, first of all, there's definitely, we've all experienced energy vampires, especially if you're empathic. Whoo, boy, right? If you're empathic and you're like taking on people's suffering and pain, those energy vampires are like, oh, good, let me like come and get like dump all my crappy, heavy energy on you and steal all of your light, high vibrational energy. That's a thing. So a part of that is learning, how am I going to have really good, healthy boundaries? How can I use empathy as a way where I can help people, but no one's going to be stealing my energy. I'm not going to be an energy buffet for this vampire. But everything you listed, Dan, the money, your health, your like, all of those are forms of energy. And anything that we're a little bit being afraid of losing, we're in a lack mentality rather than a mentality of abundance, that there's enough to go around. But I also think, fundamentally, to answer your question, that thing that's out to get us, this chase, just like just over our shoulder, our shadow, literally is our shadow. It's some repressed desire or something repressed that is really trying to come up through our consciousness or our subconsciousness, that needs some attention. It needs some light to it. That needs light being brought to it. And to me, Dracula is, and I go into this as deeply as you want me to, is the epitome of a story about repressed desires. And we are usually, I see it over and over and over again in my psychic readings. And by psychic, I'm not using that word as a fortune teller. I'm not looking at it. I'm using that word to differentiate from mediumship, where I'm talking to deceased loved ones. So psychic means somebody says, I don't need to talk to my deceased loved ones. I just need help with what's going on with me. That's what I'm calling psychic here. But I see it over and over again, that the one thing that people are most afraid of is acknowledging the thing they most want. And when you can give that, when you can like bring that into the light, Like all this weight just drops off of somebody's shoulders. Like for someone to acknowledge this is in your soul's expression, this is in your deepest heart's desire, and it's okay. Now let's figure out how to bring it into your life. It's beautiful. It's tremendous. And I think that's actually what Dracula is about. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I know you because you're a lit major, right? Gothic lit major. So you've definitely you know, can speak to this as far as the story goes. Um, so tell us then. I mean, I'm just fascinated by the whole thing. Um, because I feel like, you know, Dracula's portrayed at least in movies, which is different than the book, I'm sure, even though because I've never read the book, but I've heard it, you know, of course, they're never the same.
Mhm.
So, but it's this idea, this seductive energy, right? Oh, come with me, and you know, like you can have what you want, and, and all this stuff, and so that would appeal to people, right? Just like the sense of like Satan and devil, like you know, honestly, is somewhat similar. I mean, it's like, come, you know, whatever you want, you can have it. Just be with me, and like, um, this is exactly what people run from, and then it does create that shadow, right? It's repressed. It's still in you. It's not like you got rid
Yeah.
of it, right? Like, oh no, you can't, to get out the cross, right? Like, and it's still in you though, right? So the energy, it's still, that energy is still in you. So um, when you're working with people, and you know, you notice that these desires are within them, and they're afraid of them. They're afraid of letting it come out, and maybe they're going to become one of those, like in business, like we're afraid to become, like I've had these fears. I'll become this very seductive leader, and I'll be able to get you to do my bidding. I think people are afraid of their own power in so many different ways, especially in terms of their desire and their how powerful that could be, and their persuasion and everything. What do you find that is? How do you help people with that? I mean, because there's so much distrust around it.
That you, again, you just hit it on the head. People are afraid of their own power because we have been taught over and over since we were little kids, be careful what you wish for. 3 wishes and you're out. Or, you know, all this stuff like, I'm afraid to have, or it's only your imagination, or you know, we've been told to like stay small, keep your head down. And maybe that's something instinctual within us because going back to tribal times, we all had to fit in with, we had to fit in with the tribe, you know, whatever the tribe, so for our survival. But mostly what I see, people are afraid of their own power. And I've certainly dealt with that myself. I've, you know, and like you said, stepping out, stepping into a business and being really outed with what you do and your imagination. And people are really afraid of judgment of other people. They're afraid of what are people going to think? What are my parents going to say? What's my spouse going to say? What are my friend people are going to think I've lost my mind? And you know, actually that's not the case. Most people, if they really care about you, they want to see you do the thing that makes your heart catch on fire, because that's contagious energy. So, and if you've got people around you that don't want that, I think you need to change up the people around you. You need to let those people fall away. But most people are really, really afraid of what other people are going to think. And they're afraid, well, what if I do it and I'm not good at it? Or what if I do it and I fail? And, you know, you know this, you every day, every step you take is building your future. You don't just wake up one morning and you've got a solid book of business and you're booked 6 months out and you're a millionaire and book deals and movie deals and all that stuff. It's one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time, one skill at a time, one little thing, and figuring out then what works for me, what's organic to me, what's authentic to me. How am I going to do business that's the best expression of myself, not following somebody else's business model. But it's a constant, just one step in front of the other. And
Right.
with your true calling, like what else are you going to do? This is you love that process.
Right, right. So let's say someone says, "Great, I love this. I love to go that route." So is it possible, as we just kind of, again, we're always just enlightening ourselves as we're speaking, right? And then we're enlightening the consciousness that's listening, of the people, the viewers and the listeners. It's like, so is it possible, really, the idea of the dark side is going to get me? In part, of course, is it's just, it's repressed energy, because we're just afraid to trust our brilliant light to
Absolutely.
shine, right? So it creates
Absolutely.
darkness and
There's
shadow.
so much, absolutely. There's so much that we have self-doubt over, or shame or judgment around, that when you just allow that to be, if you think, like, if your best friend were there sharing with you the very thing you're feeling, you're not going to judge your friend, and you're going to be like, oh, you don't need to be ashamed of that. That's human. But we don't give ourselves that same grace, right? So,
Yeah, that's very true. We do doubt ourselves a lot. I know. So I know, like, you do varying work. I mean, we talk about you as an evidential psychic medium, but you also do spiritual guidance work. I would call it, sort of even strategic sort of work, in a way, in an intuitive way, like an intuitive, almost business guide or mentor or guide, guide for people. So you do all those things with your gifts, to be able to ask good questions. Your gifts, you ask good questions. You're very, can be to the right questions. You can, tune in. You can, draw upon so many different aspects to be of support to people. They use alchemy and everything. I'm already starting to do an energy scan here, but anyway, so I just see all that in you,
awesome.
and that people can become more embodied as who they are again, on every level, especially on the human level, which this audience tends to try to disown. Like, oh my God, if we could just get back and ascend finally. Like, how do we get back? And they just continue to be stuck then, right? So, like, did I miss the bus? What did I always say? Like, did I miss the bus? What happened? I'm still here. So, and then Dracula comes along and says, I couldn't take you there. Right? Come with me. Right? So tell us,
Well,
Dracula
that's
does come. So you're saying, oh, I wish things were different. I wish the bus would come. So Dracula says, I've got a bus to take you there. Come with me. And then that's where the distrust comes in. So I want to get more into Dracula. Like, as Dracula shows up, what's Dracula really doing? We're calling it Dracula, but it comes in different faces. But we give it the face of Dracula, what's Dracula really doing from the perspective of the story, which most people don't understand, and then as far as a metaphor.
sure. So this Dracula's holding up a mirror for you, right? Because I'm not going to get on the same bus you would get on. So Dracula has to come to both of us with different offers, and that's what he does in the story. When you look at the novel, a fascinating way that it's written, Dracula never appears as a standalone character. That is fascinating to me. You only see Dracula through the eyes of the other characters. So every character is experiencing this horrible monster differently. And they experience him through the very thing that is missing in their lives that they are most desiring. So some of the men they're able to be cowboys with Dracula, and they can go chase and hunt him down. And some of the other, one of the men is like fascinated with his brain, like he's intellectually fascinated with this monster, right? The women, Lucy is like so sexually repressed. You can tell she's a flirt, and she has to choose one suitor. She doesn't want one suitor. She wants all of them. So Mina, he gets through her intellect, because she's a very smart woman, but women in her time aren't allowed to be so smart. So Dracula gets to her through actual telepathy, through psychic powers that she then is just she's lured in by him. So in the book, Dracula gets to everybody through their deepest desires. And I didn't realize this until I'd read the whole book, got to the very end. They kill the monster, and the book doesn't end. They don't just go home and live happily ever after. Instead, 7 years later, what do these people do? They leave England and they go back into the wilds of Transylvania to go on holiday and retrace their steps where they killed this monster. That was insane to me. I'm thinking, you have this whole book of horror, of like something that should be trauma and PTSD inducing, and you go back to the scene of the crime. And that's when I thought, oh my gosh, who else goes back to the scene of the crime? Murderers. These people are murdered, actually the very thing that gave their life purpose and meaning. They murdered their own desires, and without this embodiment of their desires to chase after and to pull out and to live with, to have this part of themselves finally be able to be expressed, they murdered them. What do they do? It was just, that's what made me, I wrote my senior thesis on this novel, but I just, getting to the end, that epilogue made me go back and read the whole book and rethink the entire story. And I think that's the brilliance of this novel and the brilliance of the Dracula story. So it's like, how would Dracula seduce you? Because he can only get you by the very thing that is missing in your life right now that you're really wanting expressed.
Right. I suppose for me, it might be something like potentially, we're going to get you in total enlightenment, and you're going to be the spiritual leader, the prophet for all times at this most amazing and important time. And you'll be able to do these things and those things. And more so than money, it'd be more like the impact I'd be making, and, I get the nice toys, but probably that'd be pretty seductive. I can just put you, I've had seductive people come in my life. I've had people have influence, right? They're like, I will make you the sun, everyone else will be the planets. And I'm totally seduced by that idea, because that sounds great, right? Like, everybody wants me. Like,
that sounds horrible. That sounds like so much responsibility. My empathic side is like having an anxiety attack right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't handle that.
Oh my God, it's too much. For me, I'm like, I'm a center of attention. Finally, all right. Like, everybody's different, right? So everybody would be hooked in a different way, right? But for me, I'd be like, I could be seduced into it. I mean, I go with it, but it might be it could be seductive, right? And so everybody has this thing. So whatever, it is an interesting question for everybody to ask themselves right now. It's like, how would Dracula seduce you, right?
And the thing is, in the novel, remember, he doesn't just come in and do it overnight. He's not the monster that just breaks in and kills. I mean, he does do that in the novel, but not for our main characters. Our main characters, he develops a relationship with them. They all have some sort of a relationship with this monster. And to use your example, Dan, like, you've got a relationship with that desire, and you're building that every single day. It's not just something that's going to happen overnight, like you win the lottery, because obviously, if you deeply wanted that would have happened already. I think you're enjoying this process of getting there, one step at a time.
Exactly. And I think too often people don't realize that there is. I mean, when I was a younger man than I am now, a lot of people think I'm younger than I am, but as a younger man than I am now, I was like, I'll be on Oprah tomorrow. I was just so cocky and confident, and my soul really wanted something else, apparently, because I know we all are so powerful. If it's really true for us, it just all of a sudden it's just going to come in. But we want this journey. I know a lot of people don't get this, but like, all the pain and suffering, everything that comes along the way. Yeah, one level you don't want it, but another level you must, because otherwise, as an infinite being, you wouldn't give it space. And it's not that you don't know how to let it go. You don't know. It's something something in it. There's something juicy, just like reading a horror novel or whatever, a good drama novel or something. But like, it's thrilling, right? And that's where I feel like that's why we're here in part, right? Is to enjoy the whole entire journey. That's a great point, Andrea.
Yeah. Well, and I think a couple of things are going on there too with us, perhaps, that our bodies can't handle instantaneous enlightenment. We are like, I don't think our molecules, I don't think we'd hold together. We might explode. There's something that wants to just still be in the flesh, right?
Mhm.
And, too, the journey, every little facet of every experience that we understand, we can then connect better with our other fellow human beings. We then can really deeply connect. Um, One of the things, like, I've experienced a good deal of personal trauma in my childhood and grief, a lot of loss. So that I now to be able to hold space, because a lot of what I do as an evidential medium is work with people who've had tragic losses.
Right.
It's it's terrible, but thank goodness I did all of my own personal work, so I can handle that space for me. That doesn't bring me down. It doesn't depress
Right.
me. I think it's a tremendously rewarding part of what I do, to hold space for somebody else in their grief, and I love being able to provide that to people. So I think there's
Yeah.
part of that's a part of our own self work and self journeying, is so we can then later connect with somebody else who's going through the same thing and needs a hand.
Right, right. That's so true. Yeah. There's so many people that, most of us know people that have lost someone near to them, and or we've been that person, and then it happened in a way that is very, I mean, it's always hard for most of us when we lose people that are
Of
close.
course. Yeah.
But sometimes it's harder, right? If they committed
Yep.
suicide, or
Right.
or they died untimely in an untimely way, or in a car accident, whatever it may
Yep.
be, right? But that it's very hard, and it's even harder. Like, I know people that really feel like, and I'm sure this is common in people you work with, they feel like I must have done something wrong. I missed something. I didn't do enough.
Yes.
I could have prevented this. I could
Yes.
stop this from happening.
Yep.
I have one person I talk to on a regular basis who has that, is in that. So,
Yeah.
and it's like, if I try to really try to convince her that that isn't true, she just wouldn't want to
Oh,
hear it. She would.
absolutely. Because that's her truth right now. That's absolutely a part, that is a normal part of the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So it's
You
a
got to,
normal
like,
part of the
wrestle
process.
with that.
Yeah, with the grief, right? Is looking at these things. So tell us more about that. Like, if people are, is that literally is stopping some people? They're dealing with loved ones maybe that are alive still and dealing with that, or they're deceased, and it's like they're in that cloud of grief, and they just can't. They have a big purpose. They have something big they love to share in the world, but they just, part of it is they haven't fully dealt with their grief and dealt with that. How do you help people to move through that so they can move forward with their life? I know it's a process, but can you tell us about that?
You know what? I try to normalize what they're going through, because so I'll just, this is
Mhm.
um on my website, it's no secret, but my boyfriend committed suicide when I was younger. And that, like, it is a process, but there was so much that I went through that no one was talking about, because people treat suicides differently than they treat, or people treat a drug overdose differently than they'll treat cancer or something else, right? So there was a lot of the emotions that came with someone passing in that manner, that I was having to discover firsthand, and I didn't know how to give voice to it, and I didn't know if I was just me and I was weird, but there was no information around me that actually made me understand that what I was going through was perfectly normal. And even that alone helps people, like, whew, it gives a weight off of their shoulders, and just connecting and holding space for them, with their loved ones, if it's mediumship or just with them, so they know they're not crazy, and that the grief is it's gonna have its own it's gonna be look different to absolutely everybody, but there's a lot of normal stages and normal things that'll happen, that it's nice to know that you're normal if you're going through some of these experiences.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of times I think that, again, something I've heard from a lot of people is that, there's a lot of the people in their life, they that weren't as impacted as they were for whatever the reasons were, whatever the deal is, but they tend towards, to different degrees, because they're uncomfortable with your grief. They tend towards, well, you got to kind of move on with your life now. What come on, let's go, kind of
Or
thing.
he's in a better place now. It's
Right,
like,
right,
I don't care. I'm not in a better place. We're left here on Earth. We're the ones left at the bus stop. Like,
yeah,
what the heck? Why'd you leave me here? Like, all of this stuff comes up. And then people compare grief.
yeah.
Totally. People compare it. And you can get very resentful over other people's expressions of grief. Yeah, it's a monster. It is definitely not a fun monster
Yeah.
at all to deal with.
So maybe we can tie that into what we're talking about. That is so true. So the apparent monster of grief, right? Yeah, we know it's a gift. Most people, again, listening here would know at some level, even if they're really caught up in it and can't see the gift in it, I'm sure. But sometimes, but 100%, that's normal. But like, let's talk about that. So how is grief trying to help us in the same way as like Dracula is in a way? Like, what do you
Yeah.
see parallels? I'm curious.
I think it I think it's meant to wake you up.
Hmm.
Like because one of the things that experience has done for me, and I've had a lot of other people, I've lost a lot of people in my life, but it's like life is precious. Like you cannot go to sleep. I mean, you need to sleep your 8 hours a night, but you you need to not take any minute for granted, not 1 second, not 1 minute of the day. Life is so precious, and if you live to be 100 years old, it's still going to be too short.
Yeah.
And I think that that monster of grief, what that's revealing in you, that sense of loss, I think the desire there is that deep desire for soul level connection with another human being.
Hmm.
And if you've had that and then their body is gone, you're still like you're really wanting that soul level connection, that desire. And that's why that grief is indicating to you your desire for connection
Hmm.
and your desire to really connect again. I had a big epiphany, and this was years after my boyfriend died, and it was that there was a part of my heart that was still closed up, because it's that sense of like, I'm not going to ever love that much again because it might bring that much more pain if I lose it. And it was in a meditation, and I had this epiphany that I need to be able to open my heart all the way to love, to the point I would risk, losing everything all over again, because it's the love wins. I mean, it's really that love, like and I felt my heart chakra, my whole heart area opening up, and just light, just most profound love pouring in.
Hmm.
And I think that's our goal. Like, how much love actually can we embody? And I always go to my heart and our rib cage or our belly. How much light and love can we actually like get while we're here on earth without fear of losing it, just accepting it?
Yeah, or how much can we connect with that's already there, right? But that we can't
uh,
be connected into, right? So
it's already there,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, how beautiful. I mean, totally, totally. So yeah, I had probably 10 questions while you're talking, just not even trying to think of questions. Things are cropping. I'm like, oh, what about that? That's another thing we talked about. I just got in that space where you're talking about that beautiful heart space, because that's where we're being asked again. Like I doing a call coming up on this, but like just coming back all the way back home. And for me, that always means into, really the heart space, is really that. And I talk about the sacred heart and coming back home all the way, and everything is bringing us there. That's where we're coming back home. Everything's there to bring us back home. And I mean, so grief. Wow. I mean, it is like, man, it can bring up every emotion. I mean,
Mhm.
of the underworld, especially, like almost every
Yes.
emotion, like
Yeah.
the underworld is exposed, through it, the shame, the anger, the sadness. I mean, anxiety. I mean, all the different ones, they'll come within the sense of grief and just feeling hopeless and feeling lost. And because we don't feel we have that connection with that person anymore. But one of the gifts that you bring people is spiritual orientation, normalizing,
Yeah.
whatever, loving support. And then you have the gifts to actually help connect them with those that have gone, to the other side. So I think that's so great that that desire they have for that connection, that you can help. I always feel like it's a seductive like opportunity for people. The way, to be honest, is loving, but it's seductive too. Oh, I could actually connect with them and talk to them, and it's just
Yeah.
true. It's available. It's real, and you do that for people. So, what kind of help does that seem to bring to people that you've been working with, in terms of bringing them back into that wholeness and wellness and deepening?
Well, two things. One, it lightens their load. They're
Mm,
not just carrying everything by themselves.
mm,
And two, it brings hope. Like if I can get out from under this weight, even for an hour session, then I know at some point I'll be out from under it for good. And I'll get used to my new normal in life. And there is gonna be lightness and love back in my life again. And if I can connect somebody with their loved one in spirit, so they're feeling it, not just from the words I'm saying and the evidence I'm getting, but they're actually feeling the presence of that soul next to them, that's tremendous. That's just a tremendous sense of like, okay, I can connect. I can like I can hold this, which means someday, I'll be out from under this weight of the grief, because grief is heavy. It's just plain heavy. Um, but too, I'll say a lot of times in sessions, even if it's a really hard passing, a really hard, even if there was just ugliness, there's always a lightheartedness in spirit. There's always, the communicator will always come in and do something that's going to make you laugh, make you like feel joy, the joyousness of the continuation of the soul.
mhm. Right. So tell us, I'm curious because I'm not sure if I'm totally clear. What's the difference between what you do? You call yourself an evidential psychic medium
Mhm.
versus like a psychic medium, or someone that says I'm a medium. What
Yeah.
are the differentiations? What are the differences?
One of the ways that to satisfy my own skeptical brain is that I'm evidence-based. So um, a medium is anybody who can speak to other souls, other people around. But you also have people who channel, when they're mediums. So they might channel a guide, or they might channel an angel, or whatever it is they're calling this other being.
Right.
But they'll be giving really good information to their clients. So
Mhm.
evidence is, I'm going to give evidence so you know who I'm talking to. Like I'll say, I
Right.
feel like this is a father, and here's certain things about his life. Then the person goes, oh my God, that's my dad, that's absolutely my dad. And now we're gonna facilitate a communication, so that
Mhm.
person really feels like they're communicating with that particular loved one.
Right.
Every now and then I do get in guides, or sometimes Mother Mary. Shocked. No one was more shocked than me when Mary came in. I thought she was a fairy tale. I wasn't really sure she existed. But if I do get somebody, a being like that, and that's not a friend, or a loved one, or a pet, then it's because that client has their own individual relationship with that being, and they've either not trusted it themselves,
Mhm.
or they just really connect with that energy, and I can like validate that for them, and it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. I mean, yeah, I'm one of those people. I don't know about the evidence based. That if the evidence comes forth when I'm channeling, it comes forth.
Yeah.
If no particular evidence other than it sounds true, then
Yeah.
whatever I'm saying. Because usually, I guess the evidence, can come in different ways. Like you remember those keys that look this way or that way, or whatever. Like you remember. you remember, and then, or they start talking in a way, they start saying exactly the same things they used to say when they're alive, right? So like all
Yeah.
these different things, and I haven't done a ton of mediumship, but because of my gifts, I easily, can go there if it seems appropriate. But it's not my main jam, I guess. So at this point,
Yeah.
but anyway, things come through, and I know that those things, but it's good for people that are skeptical and for yourself too. Like we know because we got this evidence, right? It helps to solidify it. So what are like? So we talked about like the one of my last questions is you talked about we talked a little bit about the benefits people get with working with you. Let's say if they just do a session, with you as a medium, or it could be other things too, just to get that sense of, oh, what direction am I supposed to go? Tune in for me and guide me, show me. I get relief, I get some clarity. Okay, great. All right, things are going to work out. All right. And then things happen after the session. So things keep coming up though, even though they gain something really super valuable. What are the long-term benefits that people gain from working with someone like yourself? Versus like going to therapy or other things they could do to try to work things out.
I think, well, in any given session, there's definitely, of course, a place for therapy. But one of the things I've heard over and over again is during a reading, I'm the one doing most of the talking, not the client, right? Because I'm communicating, and the clients have said, "Oh my gosh, that's a shortcut to therapy. I could talk myself for months and months going to a therapist, and it'll take me forever to talk myself into what you're just cutting through and saying." So that's helpful. And I think the long-term benefits are, really, with clients who work with me on a regular basis, it's beautiful to see how they really start trusting themselves. They're trusting their own intuitive hits, their own instincts. They're trusting their own inner guidance more and more and more. And so with my long-term clients, I literally have a thing for them where they could just do what I call an intuitive high five, and these are mainly my business clients. Like, I think I know the answer on this already, but can I just run something by you real quick? So that's nice to get people into that space. And it usually involves like people taking what is perceived to them to be an emotional risk or a business risk. But they know they're really wanting to do this. So a lot like working with people and just seeing like, oh my gosh, a year ago, if you played it safe, you still would have been in this mediocre job with a mediocre team and a mediocre people around you. It wasn't, you've kind of outgrown, and now look where you are. It's great.
Right. Very interesting. Very interesting. That's great. Great. So if people wanted to, contact you or learn more about your work, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
My website, www.andreasaintamand.com, and that's all spelled out. So it's AndreaSaintamand.com.
Okay, great.
And my
Good.
email and social media and phone number, all the stuff's on there.
Okay, great. So just go to the website and we'll put that in the show notes, www.andreasaintamand.com. And then you're on Facebook, I see here, and Instagram, and can definitely message her in any of those places as well. So Andrea, what if they contact you, what would, yeah, I'm sure, like, yeah, because you talked about do have resources on your website as well on grief and whatnot. So tell us a little bit more about what's on your website briefly.
There's 2 free resources. One, I have a workbook it's just a little bit of a funsy, but it's something to help get you, if for folks who really feel like they're stuck, like they're really just stuck. I have a workbook to help work you through letting go of the shoulds and getting into what you're actually desiring. I do have an essay on grief where I've put everything in my experiences and that I've seen into one spot, because I've learned how much people feel like they're going through something and no one else in the world is going to understand them. So
Yeah.
I've put that there. Also, what's coming, it's not up there yet, but I have done a very short YouTube video about this concept with Dracula, and I go in a little bit deeper. It's a private video because it was only available to subscribers of mine of another service that I have. But if anybody's interested in getting that video, they can email me and I will send it to them.
Okay.
So those are my free resources. Yeah.
Great, great, great. All right, great. So check all that out. And then we're at the time of the show where I do a little tuning in for my guests, and I'd love to do that for you right now if you're ready to receive, Andrea.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is like a bonus.
Okay.
Please.
All right, great, great. And yeah, this is part of what I do, and we'll go ahead and do this now. Here we go. Let me tune in. Just reminders, maybe for now. I get a huge sense of the Council of Light. Like, in other words, you have just like really a lot of connection with many teams, many even group, collective, group, so-called group energies, entities or whatever. Like, this is making sense what I'm saying, but like, so you have so many different aspects you can tune into, and that's really large and vast. So this is a particularly powerful gift that you have. So um, lots of connections, and they're strong. So it's a strong connection. Sometimes I tune into people, they may have a big team, but they're not really connected that strongly yet with them and whatnot. You very strongly have a strong connection. It feels like that maybe some aspects of the team might want some more attention. And so I'll just leave it at that for today, but that's one thing I'm hearing. Okay, let me see what else is coming up. Yeah, just I keep hearing it. So it feels like the focus is to go even more into the darkness too, but there are some more darkness to look at, so to speak, um, in terms of whatever shadows, etc. But like in the lower chakras, the sacral chakra seems to be coming up strong. So there may be some, we teach what we want to learn more to ourselves, right? So there's even more. I mean, as much as you come out of the box, like there's more hidden desires, I feel like, or repressed desires. And so I'm picking that up on your energy too. Let me see if I can get one more thing. Well, they're just showing me how strong, that you have that magnetic presence and how strong that is from within your heart. And yeah, you want to share your channeling more. Maybe you'll do more of what I'm looking to maybe do more of too, is share channeled messages on a YouTube platform or something like that. Getting more messages so people can see you in that channeled, you being in that channeled state more, getting that more highly visible. Amplify that seems to be important. And then you just see you working with um, again, continuing to do what you already do, but maybe do it more, is bringing in all the so-called props, or things like the staff with the ball on it and all this stuff. Like, the images are coming to me, like, embody this more is what I'm hearing. Just go ahead and take it full steam, like just take it all the way. Why not? So something like that. So there was always a lot more, but I just shared a few things that come through for our interview time. Any quick thoughts, reflections?
That's awesome. I loved all of that. I actually did one time in my backyard not too long ago. Felt like this whole team descended and they said, we're the High Council. And I was like, oh, good Lord, High Council of what? Like, and I wrote all the messages down. So that's really significant. I have never connected with them again. So maybe I need to go back and do that. But the other thing, all that going deep and deeper, I've literally been struggling I've spent so much time in my head and working and with clients that I'm like, it's time for me to get back in my body, like literally move and exercise.
Right.
More and just feel more grounded, more like I'm in my body and moving. That's been something that's really high on my priority list. So absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't get to that part, but I saw that too.
Yeah.
I was
feeling that. Yeah.
More. I kind of mentioned that. Yeah, get in the
you did.
To get in the earth more. Yeah. Super important for someone like yourself doing such incredible, high frequency and deep work. So, okay, great. So glad to share with you today. For those of you that want to connect more with me, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. There's a free meditate, make money meditation that people report are giving them new attunement and deepening and more money, all of that. And you can find me on Facebook at Rock Your Sacred Purpose group, and we have a page by the same name right now. So you can go there. If you go to the group and join me, I do Facebook Lives there where I share around what I call Awakened Sales. So I've been doing a series on that on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central. If you want to check that out, I do energy scans for people. If you want to get one of these, that's the place to go. Rock Your Sacred Purpose on Facebook. All right, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. But I will give you, Andrea, just one last chance to go ahead and share any last words or messages you have for the audience.
I just feel very grateful right now, Dan. So thank you. This has been such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. So I feel like I want our audience, anyone listening, to give yourself permission to go have a wonderful conversation with somebody, to connect in with that person and also with yourself.
Yes. Awesome. Great. And everybody feel free to share this with others. I feel that calling on this show. You feel this would benefit someone else in your life that may be going through grief or whatever it may be that they're dealing with. And you think this would be a good fit for them to watch this show. I think of feeling it. I don't normally say that at the end of the show, but feel free to share this show. And thank you in advance. Okay, so thanks everybody. Thank you, Andrea, for coming on. It's awesome to have you on today. I'm so honored and grateful and blessed to have you here. And I'm so grateful for all the audience. And as I always say, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.